I just realized I should have added to this title, Born Total Solar Eclipse Anoretic. Now, that was the tip of my research spear over the last week, was to find a personage born at or near a total eclipse of the sun in the anoretic degree, or in an anoretic degree. So that was the kind of the mission. Research and report on the life of an individual born at or near a total eclipse of the sun, with the latter being located at one of the 12 anoretic degrees of the zodiac. So that narrows the focus pretty much. But it was an exciting vector to launch into research with. So I've learned, as we are momentarily here, moment by moment, we're learning about eclipses, and I thought this was a great diagram. Where my focus is at the total solar eclipse on the right. So, which is given a magnitude of, I believe, 1 or greater than 1. So this is as total as it gets. Just to review, the anoretic degree of a zodiacal sign refers to the final degree of that sign. At such degrees, qualities generally associated with the sign culminate and are essentialized, like the seed harvest. So with the help of NASA, the chart on the left is the chart of totality eclipses. And with the assistance of AstroTheme and AstroDienst and their database and so on, I was able to scan through and find people born at or near the anoretics. And so then what I did was to locate the person who was born the most close to a total eclipse. And I came up with Paul Kagame, who was born at near the total eclipse. And this is the total eclipse that he was born near. Totality being down somewhere in Antarctica. And it was also just a brief moment. But in pulling up this graphic, I realized a further research vector here would be to locate a person born geographically under a total solar eclipse. Just wrap your head around that for a moment. Got to be somebody out there. A few. So Paul Kagame, current president of Rwanda. Rwanda, officially the Republic of Rwanda, is a sovereign state in Central and East Africa and one of the smallest countries on the African mainland. Located a few degrees south of the equator, Rwanda is bordered by Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Rwanda is in the African Great Lakes region and is highly elevated. Its geography is dominated by mountains in the west and savanna to the east, with numerous lakes throughout the country. His birth time is unknown, so I just ran a 12 o'clock noon chart, which, based on his prominence as a political figure, seems pretty appropriate. We see this grouping up top with we can see that the sun and moon had already separated at the time of his birth by just over 2 degrees, but Neptune was inserted right in there. So there's your anoretic sun for the lunation at Libra 30 degrees with the sun conjunct Mercury, and directly opposite to Pallas Athena. So please jump in with comments or questions at any moment here. This is all very fresh for me. So
I just noticed that this is exactly the same one, the same date when Martin Luther King was born. So obviously it will be a different time, different location. So later we can start with that so we can compare with this one.
Right.
Mm. So what about the Athena that you have circled there, Dwayne?
I'm sorry.
The Pallas Athena, why have you marked it on the drawing like that?
Because it just seems so so resonant with that axis. I just wanted to point that out. I mean, Pallas Athena, the archetype is, she's holding the spear. It's all about the public, or it's the creative imagination, but in a generally a public kind of presentation.
What is that other thing next to the Pallas Athena that both of them are opposite the new moon? Do you know?
That would be the south node. Is that what you're?
Oh yes, that's the node, of course. Yeah, that's.
And so once again, we're having an axial orientation emphasized here.
Sure, yeah.
And I'll just add, I've been doing research on all the asteroids. Well, anyway, Pallas Athena, she's known for the wisdom and solutions beyond duality and beyond victim consciousness. And outside is coming from within. So anyway, it seems like for a president, that would be, it's about the solution making.
Absolutely.
Also, just maybe it will be important to note that this is not just the chart of the person, but that's the chart of the actual eclipse. So this chart is the eclipse affecting the whole world in that moment, isn't it? So we can see that Pallas Athena was opposite the new moon at that point.
And very interesting, look at the flag behind him. I mean, that's just so resonant with what we're studying. In fact, there are other resonances like that that came up in my research. For example, the circularity of this room that he was engaged in. This is and I won't show these videos with the time constraints we have, but it just kept happening. These very subtle resonances. Now this one, here's the man born at the new moon. If we were to make that inner circle the lunation cycle, he's sitting at his lunation birthday. And you can imagine when I'm just discovering this stuff as I'm going along, and it's just all like just showered in. It's the synchronicities. The only book that I've encountered that's had anything really to say about the anaretic degree is this one, Predictive Astrology by Sakoyan and Acker. And whoops. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
No, I can't read that at the top. Can you see it?
Would you like me to read it, Dwayne?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
If the sun is posited in an anaretic degree, these individuals have to deal with a major unfulfilled drive for self-expression each time the sun is set off by Saturn or any of the outer planets. Jupiter is instrumental in this process, stimulating past memories and karmic conditions that must be dealt with if these people are to expand in self-expression. Jupiter and Saturn transits stir them to an awareness of the ego's demand for self-expression to the ambitions and to the practical circumstances of life which these planets activate. The outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, can subject these individuals to the effects of large-scale cultural changes that demand a creative effort on their part to bring about practical realization of what is required of them in the larger scheme of things.
Thank you. So when we look to this person's life, I mean, he has, by direct experience, encountered atrocity on a scale that I just can't imagine. As I'm learning, the political upheaval in Rwanda, I don't know, a decade ago or the last 20 years, involved the murder of hundreds of thousands of the Tutsi, which is what his background is. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around what a person like himself would have encountered during a time like that. But he perhaps is really well suited to deal with that kind of life experience. This is a quote from John Paul Kimonyo, author of the book Transforming Rwanda, Challenges on the Road to Reconstruction. He described Kakagami is the master of reinvention. First, he became a soldier, then transformed himself into a statesman and a reformer, and finally gained international recognition. So, as was indicated previously about the anaretic sun, he has lived that. He has, this would be further research, is to see what were the Jupiter transits, what were the outer planet transits affecting his life so dramatically that he had to, completely reinvent himself in order to respond. I think that would be a very interesting study. He's certainly a person of interest for me from now on in. Another quote, I can see this one, I'll read that.
All right.
So again, from Sakoyan and Acker, the affairs ruled by a planet in an anaretic degree must be handled at the appointed time when the planet is activated by major predictive factors, such as transits and eclipses. The individual will feel a sense of urgency when the planet is activated. Any attempt to ignore or delay dealing with the affairs indicated results in serious failure and frustration where they are concerned. To understand the details involved in these affairs, consider the sign and house position of the planet, the house or houses it rules, the sign and house of which it is the exalted ruler, the aspects made to it, and the planet which disposits it. When this planet is set off by major transits, that is by Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, major events are brought into focus that teach important karmic lessons and make a deep impression upon the individual. So here we have a man exposed to war, right from probably as a child even, and who has personally experienced these transits in such a way that he has transformed himself. I can't read the first couple of lines there, so.
Sorry?
Yeah, please. This is Barney, somebody at Sunday Times, describing Mr. Kagami.
Right. In April 1994, as SA was ushering in the dawn of freedom, Rwanda was engulfed in a genocide in which about 1,800,000 people were killed. But as SA steadily descended into a quagmire of corruption and depravity under its new rulers, Rwanda has picked itself up, nursed its wounds, and changed the course of its destiny. It is now regarded as one of the economic success stories in Africa. Most of the credit goes to Paul Kagame, its no-nonsense leader, who exchanged his guerrilla fatigues for the sharp suits of a politician. Suave, softly spoken and articulate, he is as direct with words as he was with his rifle. He has taken this tiny landlocked country of 13 million people by the scruff of the neck and led it to relative prosperity almost by force of will.
Thank you. So this life that we're looking into, I really think, when I set out to do this research, I thought this is going to be a very interesting person, whoever I come up with. And I must say, Mr. Kagame definitely fills the bill. This is getting more current with him. This is right off his Twitter feed. Months into the fight against COVID-19, the pandemic still rages globally. We're not losing the battle, but more and better work is needed. Wear a mask, wash hands, trace, isolate, treat, and listen to advice of public health experts. So he's very aligned with the WHO and with, I presume, the UN and so on. And that has its own story. As recently as March 22nd, Rwanda imposed Africa's first coronavirus lockdown. Rwanda was the first country in the sub-Saharan Africa to order a total shutdown because of the coronavirus. At the time, the tiny Central African country had 17 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 virus. Another recent screenshot. This was looks like a Zoom call or similar technology, where he's definitely communicating with people from different parts of the world, and they're moving ahead with their agenda, which with, I think, the fellow in the upper left corner, you see the current UN president. I'm not sure on that, but we definitely have a UN 2030 agenda unfolding here. Now, to look more closely at the Sabian symbol for Libra 30, 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head, the fulfillment of man's power of understanding at whatever level of existence the person operates. And this is Rudyard. A true philosopher is a man who is able to understand, not merely know, the processes of life as he comes to experience them directly. He is the man of wisdom, different indeed from the man of science. For while there must be knowledge before understanding, knowledge alone can be both barren and destructive of wisdom. This peculiar symbol refers, of course, to phrenology, which is usually considered a pseudoscience, but may provide significant indications. Number three always indicates a state of completion. The symbol implies a fulfillment of philosophical understanding, which obviously has nothing to do with academic degrees or the writing of successful treatises on abstract concepts. So, I look to Kagame as a very highly individuated person who's really bringing this whole vibe of wisdom forth. At least I hope that's what. I guess I'm a little caught on expecting or hoping for him to perform in that way, but let's say that he's definitely wired to be able to do so. Now, as Rudyard is always encouraging us, everything is known through its opposite. And we've been examining things, with an eye to the polarities involved. So once again, here's a polarity of the anaretic new moon at Libra 30. What is the opposite point of that particular zodiacal degree? Well, and what is the Sabian symbol? We get a duck pond and its brood, the realization of natural boundaries. Keyword is substantiation. Potency has to become substantiated. It has to mate with substance in order to be effective power. Power must accept the principle of focalization. Well, it seems like Mr. Kagame and his tiny African nation, he's definitely got a focus there for the, this kind of fulfillment of destiny. Now, I just wanted to point to the symbol in the center here that I've combined the traditional symbol for Phi with the, as I explained, my anaretic presentation, this sixth line symbol above the Phi is something I created myself to indicate the anaretic moment. And they wanted to combine at this particular juncture. And I think it's an indication of, if we're going to look at an anaretic degree, let's also always look to the polarizing degree to get a more complete sense, a more holistic understanding, which is what Rudyard is always calling us to. And this I only included if there was going to be time, which I don't think there is, but James Burgess, who is doing a magnificent job of popularizing the Sabian symbols. He's got an 11-minute video on the Libra anaretic degree. Well worth watching if you're, have it the interest.
Dwayne, does he have a video for every degree?
He's working on it.
Right.
I've seen him emerge, and he's doing a great job as far as I'm concerned.
That's something to explore, definitely.
So that would be it.
Thank you so much one more time.
Thank you.